Exactly. Up your style. If you're gonna spend money like that, don't still look like a frump. Don't still look like you don't have it together. You're spending that kind of money. That's a sin. That's criminal behavior, right? It feels like he really hates her, and I think it all really went too far when she went to Paris.
I think she will be able to ghost the IRS, Pat.
I don't think so. They're gonna come find you. That's for sure.
There's no doubt as they become more desperate financially and reputationally and seeking a purpose, they will do some very foolish things. And whatever Andrew has done, they will double the problem because they will not be controllable from London.
Oh my God, the IRS always remembers your address. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are in a huge financial crisis mode. $22.5 million. They have not paid 1 cent in taxes. They're now being completely and full on investigated by the IRS, who is knocking on the Duchess and Duke's door, and they can't hide anywhere. Harry thinks that by going back to the UK and leaving Meghan's ass in California is going to be okay, and he's not going to have anything to do with it, and Pa is going to help him. Good luck with that, okay? Because Archewell is under both their names. They're both legally liable. And to break it all this down and show you now that the Charity Watch organization is involved even deeper, and that the IRS is full on investigating this nasty, nasty evil duo, is Mrs. P. Dinah, who's going to help us break it down and expose these two idiots. Thank you for joining me, Mrs. P. Dinah and Mr. Otis, to talk about the $22.5 million swindle of the century. I wanted to talk to you because you are an expert in charity. You have your own charity in the United States of America.
That's correct.
So can you, I'm gonna start with showing you an article from CharityWatch.org. You know that organization very well because they're the ones who give the ratings, right?
Yes.
They're an independent organization who ensure that all charities are working correctly, are transparent, and they're using the money correctly because of the tax exempt status, right?
Correct.
You've been through so much, Pat, with your charity. This is the article directly from the CharityWatch.org. Archewell Philanthropies, new name, same old transparency problems. And they go on to state here a few things. Archewell Philanthropies rebranded from its previous name, the Archewell Foundation, in late 2025. That is wrong. That is thing that they got wrong right there, but we're going to talk about it. Despite reporting in its federal tax filings that its financial statements are independently audited, the organization has repeatedly failed to provide those audits to Charity Watch when we have requested them. They've requested them 3 times. The first time was January 22nd, 2024, then December 6, 2024, and then January 6, 2026. They have never received them. When they talk about their rebranding, that they have renamed the charity rather than open a whole new one. Can you please tell me a little bit about that, Pat?
Yes. So, for example, when I first started my charity, we were called the English Language and Learning Center. And we had gotten our 501c3 approved. We had our own EIN number. And then later we wanted to change the name. And all we really had to do at that point was to change it to the new name, which was Life Smart Education. But nothing else changed. We still kept our same EIN number. We still kept our document that was the application for the 501c3. Nothing else changed. We just simply wanted to change the name. Now, what Harry and Meghan have done, they have essentially taken their charity that has already been approved, and they have tried to say now that they are going with a different type of charity or changing the model. Well, they don't have these things that you need to be a charity. They don't have the 501c3 status from the IRS for Archewell Philanthropies. They don't even have their own EIN number, from what I understand. They are going under a fiscal sponsorship. So what the fiscal sponsorship does is it allows them to be under the umbrella of other charities, 501c3 status, while still benefiting with having a charity. But they're not the ones that are responsible for the financial reporting. And that, I think, is intentional because they want to be able to have money come into their Archewell Philanthropies and not have to be accountable on their own records for the money that is donated. Now, it would go under the other charity, and they are the ones that would be reporting on it. And I look at what they have done in terms of the rebranding of the name and the fact that they have not filed their tax returns consecutively. I think they did just most recently do the 2023. Is that the one you're showing? Because
no, right now I'm showing you the trademark application that indeed you're correct. They didn't rename Archewell Foundation. They literally opened a whole new foundation. Right. And they're trying to literally get the tax exempt status to Archewell Philanthropies. But this is insane because Meghan Markle applied in December 19th for this trademark, which says the trademark application has been accepted by the office, has met the minimum filing requirements, and has not yet been assigned to an examiner. And today's, I believe, March the 2nd, 2026, and nobody's even looking at this. So this is not, that is already false information stating that they're just rebranding, because what they should have done is inside their Archewell Foundation trademark would have been to apply for a name change.
Exactly.
Without having to open a whole new organization, which is what they're doing right now.
Right. Well, that just says to me that something is wrong with the Archewell Foundation, because why would they just try to open up another charity? Because you have to go through a very arduous process to even get a 501c3. You have to pay more money if you want to get a new 501c3. It would be the most easiest process to just, get a name change. But they've chosen to, or make it look like they have chosen the most difficult way to get another charity going. And it doesn't make sense to me. So to me, it sounds like something has happened with the Archewell Foundation in terms of their taxes, their filing, perhaps being under investigation for, some of their taxes that they have not, their tax returns they have not filed. So to me, it's a way to rebrand, like you are trying to just look differently at what you were doing as a charity. But the reality is something completely, I believe, nefarious has happened to the original status, because no one would logically choose to do all this extra work for another charity if what you already have is still good. So to me, it sounds like what they had is no longer good, and you're trying to branch off to do something else because they want to let that other initial charity just outrun itself, or be flagged for not having its filing for its tax returns, which means you will then lose your 501c3 if you don't file your returns properly in 3 years in a row. And that's what it sounds like they have done. It doesn't make sense. So there's something nefarious, I think, happening.
You, with your charity, how do you go about your charity tax returns, Pat?
Well, you have to do your return with an accountant, and then they have to send it in. It has to be certified by the IRS, and then it is on their website, so people know it was actually filed with the IRS. It's so crazy that they show a 990 on their website, but when you go on the IRS website, you do not even see that tax return. That's almost like saying that, I'm going to be a nurse, and I'm going to take the test to be a nurse, but never really have your test graded by the people that certify you as a nurse. You just say, I'm going to be a nurse, and here's my test that I took, but no one's overseeing it to confirm it as being such. So that's what they've done, essentially. And that's the whole purpose of getting your legitimacy, is to show you have submitted your documents for oversight and you are showing transparency, because there's nothing to hide. And I think it's very suspicious when you go through these great lengths to not show official documents, because to me, if you are doing everything on the up and up, then there would not be no issue with having transparency and showing people your documents. But because people are asking for their documents, they're not showing them. They're showing something that is completely slanted towards their, favorability of the organization, like an impact report. It shows that they're just not even trying to get accountability for their work. They want to be the people that oversee and are showing accountability within themselves, like they're showing oversight themselves. And that's not how you do it. You have to have a third party, an outside source doing that for you, which is then submitted to the IRS. And I know these audits are pretty expensive. I mean, for Harry and Meghan, it would be a lot of money for them to have audited statements. I mean, they had enough money coming in where they should have been able to afford real audited statements and then have that submitted to the IRS. It's just baffling to me that they could operate in such a disingenuous way. It shows there's a side of them that is, I believe, corrupt and wanting to hide and manipulate and show themselves to be one way, but not really let people see truly on the inside what they are doing and what things look like behind the curtain. Okay. And people that donate to this charity should be very concerned, because that's what donors want to see. They want to see how you are spending the money. I mean, they're owed that. And not only the IRS, but also through the state of California. They have something very similar that you have to file when you file your federal tax return. So they haven't done it for the state or for the federal government.
According to what Harry and Meghan posted on their website, because it's still not on the IRS page, they reported raising a little bit over $2,100,000, right? Let's say, give or take, in cash in 2024, and spent twice that, $5,100,000 for that very same. So how can they be spending twice the money they're raising? And they go to here. The charity reports that 2 million of its 2024 contributions were received from a single donor, but of course they don't say who. Mm-hmm. Though the charity spent more than twice the amount it raised in 2024, it ended the year with net assets of nearly $8.3 million due to reserves it had accumulated in prior years.
Yeah, they're living off of it, and they're not paying taxes on that income because it's going to the charity, which is tax exempt. So they're getting away with not paying anything because they're saying their salaries are the charities, and that's incorrect. You can't do that. I mean, I don't understand how they can get away with doing this. I mean, this is a lot of money, I mean, my charity doesn't make that much money, but I know that there is heavy oversight over organizations that make this kind of money, because that's a lot of money in taxes that are not being paid. So what do they do now? Like, I mean, they're going to get to the bottom of it. Some third party, or even if it's another charity watch organization, like there has to be some explanation for this lack of transparency, especially when this amount of money is coming in, or at least it did in the beginning.
This is one of the things that you and I have talked about it, because you even brought it up before, Pat, because the IRS generally discourages husband and wife or closely related team members from serving together on a nonprofit board, as it creates a red flag for conflict of interest and lack of independence. It is not explicitly illegal. However, it does increase scrutiny, because how are you going to veto your wife?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That is one of the things that we wanted to do, because my husband was on my board in the very beginning, and we had to send in justifications for why we wanted to have my husband on the board. Like, we had to make a case for it using like his background, his education, why he would be a good board member. But it had to be under this stipulation that, this was just a starting board. So it's very much scrutinized to even have a spouse, let alone not even have other people. It's just Harry and Meghan. And one of the requirements for boards, I know for what we had to do, you have to have regular meetings. Do you think Harry and Meghan are sitting down and having board meetings talking about the organization and, having resolutions on things that they are approving and to show that they are in compliance with the IRS? No, they're not doing that. It doesn't even make sense that they're both just on the board. That is a red flag in itself.
Yeah. And can you imagine? Well, they admit by themselves, by their own admissions, what they submitted, that they work 1 hour a week.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that doesn't I mean, that's a poorly run charity if it's you and your husband on the board, because you're not doing what you need to do to actually run a charity with 1 hour a week. I just don't understand how you even think you are going to even be an upstanding person in society if you can't do the things that people can't see. Like, this to me shows insight into their character, because they always want to portray themselves as everything looks good here, everything is pretty, everything is how it's supposed to be. But when you dig a little deeper, you always find some nefarious behavior with them where it's not really what it's supposed to be, what we see. It's just like with the bullying allegations, we don't really know, and as far as what happened in the royal family, what happened with the bullying investigation with the royal family. But Meghan wants to say, I'm not a bully, and come out and say that she's a good employee or employer. But we've heard employees talk about her bullying her staff when they were in America. So it's just like this smoke and mirrors with them, where they want to portray themselves one way, but the reality is something completely different. And this goes through everything with them, whether it's their charity, their image as royals, as employers, as a married couple, even Meghan and her family and Harry and his family. Like, they want to portray themselves as not the problem, but they continually are the problem. That is just, you're just waiting for a crash of everything, because you just can't seem to be authentic in anything you do.
Just like the issues that Harry was having with Santebale because of Meghan Markle. One of the things that I see is that as soon as Meghan Markle joined or married Harry, the Invictus Foundation, the expenses went from less than 100,000 pounds to over 3 million pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Santebale, Harry allegedly taking money to pay for his lawsuits from Santebale, wanting to trademark it in the United States of America. So, and of course, being allegedly racist towards Dr. Sophie Chandauka, bullying her. But this because Meghan was disrespected. Now we have the same thing with Archewell Foundation.
Yep.
Poorly record keeping, not transparent at all. $22.5 million.
That's crazy. That is just insanity. How in the world do you just throw away so much money like that? And that's what they've done. Donated money, thrown it away at their lifestyle, when that money was supposed to go to the greater good. And you know why they do that? Because they don't really care about the greater good. At least Meghan doesn't. Harry, I think, might a little bit because of his mother, but Meghan doesn't care about the greater good or doing the right thing. And she cares about her image. We remember when she went to Africa and had all those clothes changes and was there for Reitman's, I believe, and helping all these children in Africa. And she was using it as a photo shoot, a photo op, and having photo changes. I mean, it's ridiculous. That is criminal. You are not allowed to use donated funds to suit your own, spending. Private spending. That's completely illegal. Somebody needs to look into that. I mean, continue to look into it. I know the IRS is, but we don't know what's going to come out of that. But I think there's something nefarious going on.
Well, out of the 22.5 million tax exempt money they received, they only have about 8.3 million left. We're half over. I mean, that's a lot of money, Pat. That's 14 million.
Yeah, see, I could imagine them trying to dissolve their foundation so that they could take that money and just open up a new one and start fresh, as if they're not going to continue or show accountability for that charity that's debunked, that's just no longer in service. I mean, I could imagine them doing something like that.
Meghan thinks she can ghost the IRS.
Right.
Just like she
can't.
Just like do you think she will be able to ghost the IRS, Pat?
I don't think so. They're going to come find you. That's for sure.
Can you imagine if you did what they're doing right now? Your organization would have been shut down a long time
Oh
ago.
my goodness, yes. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. So why are they able to, well, let's not say they're getting away with it. I'm hoping that there will be some justice around this because they're still under investigation, right? So let's wait and see. Maybe this is why Meghan is talking about going back to the UK.
What do you think is the outcome that this is going to happen? And do you think that this is why they're so desperately keen to gaslight the world and to leading people to believe nothing to see here, everything's fine?
Yeah, they're trying to ghost their original foundation, letting it dissolve, and they're trying to detach themselves from it to move on to the next thing. And I think the next thing they're moving on to is going to be them independent, separate, no longer keeping things that keep them together, but trying to make things that are independent of each other so that they can go off on their separate ways eventually. It's kind of setting the stage for what is to come. That's what I think.
I think that marriage is only in name only. I think that the writing is on the wall with these two. And I think so fed up, Pat. Just a little side note. That body language and that trip.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking about on my video today. Is looking at the body language of them on the trip and just kind of slowing the camera down a little bit to really look at in slow motion what is really happening with this couple. Because if you don't look at it in a way that slows it down, you'll miss it. But there's a lot of things that I saw that showed me they are definitely on the outs. They want to, like I said before, the smoke and mirrors look like everything is okay. But when you really look closely at them on this trip in Jordan, you can see all is not well between them. Not at all.
You can also see, do you remember the first times when they were married? Harry couldn't stop staring at her hair. Now Harry's like, I'm not looking at you. I think Harry's angry with her because of what, in a way, because he's an idiot. Harry is a very low IQ individual, and I'm not making excuses for him being an asshole, but he is I've always said that he's the evil British Forrest Gump. He's dumb.
Yeah.
But now, because he's also arrogant, he needs to blame somebody for his own stupid choices, which is Meghan Markle.
Yes.
So he's looking at her or not looking at her at all because I think he even hates this woman.
It feels like he really hates her. And I think it all really went too far when she went to Paris. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Pat, I was told, because I thought that she had gone her bodyguards and stuff. She got an independent car and went on her own through the tunnel, and she recorded herself because nobody wanted to go with her. So she went there on her own. This is why, when she was driving around in Paris, you could see Marcus Anderson and the other guy's feet, all of them together. But in this one, she went on her own because even they knew that was a bad idea.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, makes perfect sense. That's what Meghan would do. We know she would do things like that. That's the kind of mindset that she has. She's that corrupt mentally, just evil.
Do you think that Harry now truly believes that his life can be recovered by going back to Paul, to the United Kingdom?
I think he's not sure himself. This is why he's so angry. And this is why he's going to try to get what he can back, because he feels lost. He feels like his life is out of control. And I've been hearing about this whole lawsuit with the newspapers that's not even going well. The English is blowing that all out the park. So Harry's going to look like he's going to owe like 10 million pounds.
Oh, no. God, no, Pat. No. 10 millions would be so easy. We're looking at 30, 40 million pounds, sweetie.
That much?
Oh, yeah. It's been going on for years.
Wow. Yeah, that's not looking good for him.
And he still hasn't paid that almost 2 million pounds he has to pay back because he lost the security case. Nobody's talking about it, but he still hasn't paid back because he was ordered to pay 1.8 million pounds to the government because he lost the court case against getting security.
Okay, so that makes me wonder when they say that they've donated 500,000 pounds to these Jordan centers. That's a lie. they're not donating any money like that.
No, in
Because they
donations,
have
they
that.
barely donated. In donations, Pat, they barely donated like 1.8 million. The rest has been pure expenses, and they have cash stashed away.
Yeah. Wow. That's just crazy to me.
And you
They're
know what?
mm-hmm.
I want to tell you something. I think Meghan should be arrested because she's using so many millions to look that awful. And
Yeah,
everybody's thinking, you know what I mean? Girl, if you're going to steal and you're going to buy expensive clothes, can you look at least expensive? You know what I mean?
exactly. Up your style. If you're gonna spend money like that, don't still look like a frump. Don't still look like you don't have it together. You're spending that kind of money. That's a sin. That's criminal behavior right there.
That's right there, you know, because now everybody's focusing on the Zara jacket, but people forget that she threw a Sayonara Zara party when she thought she hit it big on suits. But they're not focusing on the first jacket she wore when she landed on Jordan, which was worth a little bit over $2,000, just the jacket itself, the white one.
Oh wow. Wow. Yeah.
That's just the jacket. We're not even talking the pants and jewelry. No. Oh, the Duchess wore affordable Zara thing. It looked like a mess. But anyways, thank you for joining me, Pat. And please go. You're doing a video later on about.
I'm talking about the body language and the fact that, well, to me, it looks like this marriage is over. I'm just going to look at some things around the body language from their trip in Jordan.
Well, thank you very much for coming and joining me, Pat.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye bye.